is the story that has everyone talking tonight, and our team is in place to cover it. Chief Meteorologist Bill Steffen has been breaking news on woodtv.com since the quake happened, and Tom Hillen is in Galesburg at the very place where the quake originated, just miles away from the epicenter. It is the largest quake to ever hit in West Michigan in decades. The epicenter is in Kalamazoo County. That's about 5 miles south of Galesburg. The U.S. Geological Survey measured it as a magnitude 4.2. As you can see here, we've got the epicenter marked. It's not far from Kalamazoo, and it really is one of the largest to ever hit. Dozens of you called our newsroom to tell us about your experiences. Many of you described it as the sound of a large truck rumbling by. Some of you actually caught it on video, and here's a listen at what it sounded like. And we got that video there from a fitness center in Kalamazoo. It shows the computer shaking. The employee there, you see, gets kind of concerned about what's going on. The surprising thing about all this is just how many people, despite it being here in West Michigan, identified it as an earthquake right away. Let's get out live to the epicenter of the quake right now. Not far from it is 24-hour News 8's Tom Hillen. He is near Galesburg with a look at what emergency officials are asking folks to be on the lookout for. Tom, good evening.
Well, good evening to you, Leon. The good news out of all of this, no reported injuries and only minor structural damage like you can see here at Checkered Pass Cycles. These cracks running along this wall here. I spoke with the owner. He says these were not here before today.
And everything on the shelves and windows, everything was shaking. But it lasted and just kept going. It probably lasted 10 to 15 seconds.
It struck just before 12:30 this afternoon, a 4.2 magnitude quake that was felt throughout West Michigan.
You look outside and there's not a cloud in the sky, there's no wind, it's a beautiful day, and all of a sudden everything's shaking.
Every time there's an earthquake, the U.S. Geological Survey sends out the coordinates of the epicenter of the quake. We tracked it to this empty cornfield just outside of Galesburg. Right here is the epicenter of today's quake. After the quake, the city went out to inspect buildings, roads, and bridges. The chief says they found minor damage to some buildings, but nothing people need to be worried about.
What we're really worried about is asking folks to pay attention for the next several days. If they smell the odor of gas or they see water bubbling up out of the ground or something that's quite unusual, please call 911 right away.
Many today described more than the shaking. It was the noise, which sounded like a freight train, many said, that left them a little unsettled.
You don't expect those in Michigan, you know, tornadoes, blizzards, not earthquakes.
Definitely what everyone is talking about here in Galesburg. Now, while these are not common in Michigan, it's not unheard of to have an earthquake here. The largest earthquake ever to hit Michigan was back in 1947, not far from where today's hit, and that was measured at a 4.6 back then. Well, coming up tonight at 10 and 11, I spoke to a woman here in Galesburg who was also here when that quake hit back in 1947. You'll hear her unique perspective tonight at 10 and 11. Live in Galesburg, Tom Hillen, 24-hour News 8.
Okay, Tom, thank you very much. Now, the moment the earthquake hit, meteorologist Bill Steffen took to the woodtv.com and Bill's blog to let us all know exactly what was going on. In fact, a lot of the reports,
felt it.
right?
What is that, you know?
And a lot of the reports that we were getting actually came in through your blog.
Oh, it's got 700, 800 comments. And if you felt it and you want to leave a comment at Bill's blog, feel free to do that. A lot of people have. This is the strongest earthquake, Tom mentioned, since 1947 that's been centered here in southern Michigan. And that's before I was born, so that was a long time ago. Now, some of you remember an earthquake, a smaller one we had, 3.4 magnitude. That was back September 2nd, 1994. That one was centered just northwest of Lansing, though it was felt in Grand Rapids. Now, while we have a very rare occasion felt an earthquake centered in another state, the largest earthquake ever centered here in Michigan was on August 9th, 1947, and that had a magnitude of 4.6, a little bit bigger than this one. That quake was centered very close to where today's quake was centered. Now we may very well have a few aftershocks. If you have a 4.2 earthquake, the biggest aftershock that you get in our area here is would probably be too small to notice, so it really wouldn't amount to very much. Another question that people have been asking me is about fracking or hydraulic fracturing, if that had anything to do with this. We've checked the DEQ maps on that, and of course a lot of people concerned about that because down in Oklahoma they have linked some earthquakes to the fracking process. But there are no wells, as the map shows right here, that have been fracked in Kalamazoo or Calhoun. There's really no active drilling going on there at all. The nearest active drilling is in Hillsdale County, and there's a capped well up in Ionia County, and that's it. So fracking not an issue here. This earthquake was felt in 5 states and Canada, as far east as Cleveland, as far west as northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. Fortunately, no injuries and just a few things knocked off of walls and store shelves. It's interesting watching the tweets on the earthquake today. Galesburg has become tweet famous. Pretty amazing. Leon, an interesting day here in West Michigan.
Yeah, no doubt, Bill. Now, what is the likelihood, if you can estimate, that we actually do have a significant earthquake where we would actually see damage or injuries? Is that possible with our setup here?
One of the things that we have to watch is some very major earthquakes occurred back around 1811, 1812 in southeast Missouri. Those earthquakes are strong enough to change the course of the Mississippi River and to ring bells in Boston that far away. They were certainly felt here. Those earthquakes would be a little bit more significant than what we felt today. So if we ever get an earthquake down in that area, that would be something that we'd have to watch out for here.
All right. Another thing for Storm Team 8 to be on the watch out for. Bill, thank you for your expertise on this throughout the day. Well,